The night air hung heavy, volatile, carrying the distant echoes of gunfire that refused to fade. Amina's breaths came in short, ragged gasps as she crouched among the shattered remnants of her village. Her hand trembled violently, clutching a tattered photograph, a fragile relic of a family lost to the ravages of war. Around her, silence was broken only by the ominous drip of water seeping through cracked walls and the occasional rustle of unseen threats lurking in the shadows. How had she survived this inferno of violence? What haunted her every step as she dared to return to a place that was no longer home? This is the terrifying truth they hid about Amina's return. In the year following the bloody civil war that tore through her homeland, Amina's village lay crushed beneath layers of ash and broken promises. The merciless sun scorched the barren earth where children once played, the chilling stench of decay and burnt debris filling the air. It was a place where hope struggled to breathe beneath the suffocating weight of destruction. This was no ordinary war zone. It was a crucible of suffering and shattered lives. Amina had fled with thousands else when the bombs began raining like wrath unleashed. The initial attack was sudden, a brutal blitzkrieg of destruction that left no room for escape. Families torn apart, homes reduced to rubble, lives fragmented beyond recognition. The moment the first shell exploded near her childhood home marked the end of innocence and the beginning of a harrowing odyssey. Thrown into a world where every breath felt stolen, Amina's escape was a desperate scramble through flooded trenches and hidden pathways. Hunger gnawed at her ribs, fear clawed at her mind. Every shadow whispered threats. Yet the worst battles awaited far beyond the battlefield's edges. Returning meant stepping into a nightmare wrapped in betrayal and mistrust. War had poisoned hearts as much as it had devastated land. Villagers who had endured the siege eyed her return with suspicion, their faces etched with grief and bitterness. Rumors spread like wildfire: collaborators, spies, deserters. Amina found not a refuge, but a hostile terrain of psychological scars deeper than the physical wounds she bore. Every step across the burnt soil was a confrontation with ghosts, friends turned foes, neighbors fractured by loss, and an unforgiving silence that screamed louder than bombs. The villagers' eyes carried the weight of trauma, reflecting a truth often omitted from sanitized war accounts. Survival outside the war was only the beginning. The real battle was inside, where memories festered and trust became a weapon. Amina's nights were haunted by sleepless shadows, reliving the screams and the shattered faces beneath cold stars. Days brought cruel reminders: the empty shell of her home, the absence of a father she'd never see again, the long lines at aid stations where hope was rationed alongside scarce supplies. She became a ghost among her own people, struggling to anchor herself to a community that no longer recognized her pain. The authorities claimed peace had returned, but for Amina and countless others, peace was a fragile mask covering festering wounds. Rehabilitation programs were few and far between, the social fabric was frayed beyond repair. Psychological scars remained invisible to those who counted bodies but ignored broken minds. Governments prioritized rebuilding infrastructure over rebuilding lives. In found footage recovered from hidden archives, Amina's battered voice emerges, a quiet testimony of endurance. Her words recount the forbidden truth, that returning refugees were often shunned, trapped between worlds, and forced to negotiate the intricate labyrinth of trauma and rejection. This was a war of silence, betrayal, and unspoken agony, a truth the media overlooked, censored by political expediency. The climax of her story reached its breaking point when Amina faced a brutal confrontation in the village square. Accused falsely of betrayal during the siege, she stood alone before a crowd fueled by fear and spite. The harrowing moment when she was nearly cast out again, not by bullets, but by the very people she had hoped to call family, revealed the profound isolation returning refugees endure. It was survival on an entirely different battlefield, one of shattered trust and broken community bonds. The truth hidden beneath the headlines challenges us all. War's cost endures long after ceasefires, in the silent battles waged in hearts and homes left ravaged. Amina's return was not a triumphant homecoming, but a haunting journey through despair, resilience, and the desperate search for belonging. Her story asks a question that reverberates far beyond one village. What is the hardest part of returning home after war? Is it rebuilding structures or rebuilding trust? Is it surviving the conflict or surviving the aftermath? In the shadows of forgotten ruins, Amina's legacy endures, a testament.